Hello and welcome back to RageGamingVideos. My name is Hollow, but there's no time for any of that. The new patch has just hit. They dropped it like surprisingly suddenly this Friday. And with that, there's so many interesting balance changes, new mechanics. One of the main things for me is the fact that you can actually cancel certain Ashes of War. But today, for my video, we're talking specifically incantations. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the dragon incantations then, which have seen a beneficial update to them, but not all of them. 4 specific incantations have got some benefits like faster cast time and faster recovery time. Let's start with Greyol's Roar, the legendary one. This is the one that was considered most meta or viable, other than the Rotten Breath. Just an AoE, does great damage, very solid ability. Now it costs less FP to use, also less stamina, and it has a faster recovery time. So when we actually use it, we can roll and move after much quicker, which is certainly nice. Basically means we're less vulnerable. Next is Dragon Maw, the one where we leap up, dash forward and do a little bite. This one's great. Again, cheaper on the FP and stamina, the recovery time as well, but it's now obviously a lot faster. So that the actual casting comes out quicker, and apparently that means you can actually flinch enemies easier or more consistent when it's charged up. Similar to that, we have Dragon Claw here. Really cool incantation, pulling out the claw of a dragon for a little stomp. That is now cheaper on FP, stamina, and recovery time like the others. And it has the same detail, where it's apparently easier to cause enemies to flinch when you actually charge it up and hit them with that. Not bad damage either. Last but not least then, Lansseax Ruin, one of the coolest incantations for the dragons. Haha, and there it is. That says everything. So you have a initial hit here where it actually blows up. Then you have the left to right, then right to left, and then up and down. That is now cheaper on the FP, stamina, and recovery time. The thing is, what I want to see from these incantations is hyper armor, or the ability to cancel out of it, like I'm spamming roll. I want to come out of it. You see how he just interrupts me and knocks me out of it? It's just a shame we don't get hyper armor on that. Or let me cancel out of them. There's going to be some Ashes of War in this patch that let you roll cancel out of them. Why can't we do that with these? Next then, we have the Rings of Light. There's the single one, the Discus, the triple ring, and then also Radagon's Ring of Light, which is the AoE one. These have all seen substantial buffs. The Discus of Light, which is the single version of the triple ring, so you're just firing off one. That has got a cheaper FP cost, and it has better damage and cast speed. Meanwhile, just the triple hit, it has just damage up. I mean, you're throwing 3, so it makes sense you're not getting the other benefits. But these might actually be relevant now, especially with Radagon's Ring of Light. That is also cheaper, has, more damage and cast speed, and even you recover from it quicker as well, which is really cool. These incantations have been really cool the whole time, but they've just not been that effective. These days, however, they are very relevant, and I think we're going to start to see them a lot more in both PvE and PvP, so I'm very excited about that. Here's one that doesn't make much sense. Honed Bolt was an incredible incantation before this patch, just very powerful, cheap and effective. And yeah, they buffed it. Now its cast speed is even faster, and it also has way less recovery time, so I can actually use it and get out of that animation way quicker. As you can see, you can spam this out absolutely crazily quick, and on a single target, that's a lot of burst stacking up. So that one, Honed Bolt, don't know why that got a buff, but rejoice if you're using it. I think a lot of people were. Fire incant users, pyromancers, we have been kind of neglected in Elden Ring, surprisingly. I suppose with the addition of madness and that aspect of pyromancy, things were just not that relevant for your standard fire. Well, fortunately, we've seen a buff across the board of many fire types, as well as blackflame we'll talk about in a second. But let's begin with O-Flame, which is a really good burst fire attack that I would see in PvP rarely, but sometimes. Now, it straight up has more damage. Next, we have Giant's Flame. Take thee, probably one of the best sling the fire abilities. Interestingly, this one has decreased stamina cost, and it cost me no stamina to use, so it must have consumed some stamina, but now doesn't. The legendary incantation Flame of the Fell God, quite an interesting one. Definitely not great. I mean, cool, you throw like a sun and it blows up on a target, and it did reasonable damage as well as leaving fire on the ground, but it just wasn't that relevant in any content really. It just was too slow, interruptible. Now we have a buff. It costs less FP to actually use, which is always nice, but more importantly, they have increased the damage. So if you can land it, it's going to hit much harder. Next we have Whirl o' Flame. This is a really interesting one you can get early in Caelid actually. Little whip of fire that you cast out. dealing damage over time. If you have an enemy where you can get that cast off, it's going to be pretty good damage, even work in AoE. This one's seen a buff on its damage, increased its damage, as well as having quicker recovery time after you finish it. It's really nice. I actually like that one a lot. Finally, Burn O Flame, an iconic one we've seen since Dark Souls 1. The Izalith Flame, where we're putting down a bunch of these pillars of fire, and now it's buffed up. What you may be noticing of the speed of this is it is coming out a lot quicker. It's got faster cast speed, as well as the decreased recovery time. So once you've done it, you get out of it. You know, you don't sit there in it for ages. You come out of that way quicker. That is way better. This next set is an exciting one for me, as I just mentioned, the Black Flame. 3 of these incantations have received a buff, and I'm excited because I want to do a build all about this. We have the original Black Flame, long-ranged fire ball throw, which does damage over time, as you may know. An incredible incantation because of the effects that it provides, but a little bit lacking, in terms of its damage at least. Well, now it's been buffed to have more damage, and the spell can actually break enemies' guards, which is kind of exciting. This next one, you know, this one surprised me. Scouring Black Flame is one that I thought was really good, especially against a big enemy. This slow wave you weave out, dealing damage to a single target or an AoE, which can be great. Well, now it's cheaper on the FP and your recovery time after it is quicker, but then also, as you'll see, the attack range or area of effect is much bigger. It's actually a much wider reaching cone. That's a really good spell now, like maybe one of the best. And lastly, we have the Black Flame Ritual. Really cool spell. You weave a circle of fire around you. Pretty useful in PvP to create an area of safety. I've had people use it against me, and you can obviously use that in PvE against a boss or against a pack of enemies. But now it is less FP to actually cast, and of course the damage is increased. So across the board, those 3 incantations are very good now. Very good. Here's an interesting one, but a fair one. So you have the Beast Incants, right? They're across the board very good, and you can buff them up even with something like Flame Grant Me Strength because they're physical. These are really good incants. So to see one get buffed surprised me, but then when I actually read it, it makes sense. So you have the default Beast Claw, right? This is a great incantation, really strong, very good to use. Then you have the Kerrang's version, which is the AoE version. It just had lacking damage for what it was, you know, as an AoE ability. It needed to be better than the Beast Claw if you're going to use it for that purpose, and it just wasn't. So they have buffed up the damage and also the recovery time, so you can cast it, get out of it, cast another maybe in the middle of combos. A lot smoother, which I really like. Here's a fun one for you. What may have been considered one of the worst, if not the worst, incantation in the game. Scarlet Aeonia. The one that leaps up in the air and creates the giant flower that Melania uses against you in Phase 2. And they have given it a serious buff. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. One of the coolest in the game, but you missed that, you're just done, dude. So they've increased the cast speed of it and also decreased the recovery time to get out of it quicker. You are stuck in that animation normally, and honestly, you're still stuck in it for a while, but it is better. Ultimately, the idea behind these changes is to allow you to withstand enemy attacks while you're doing this. So it's actually going to go off and not be interrupted. Let's give it a try. All right, here we go. Interrupted, nope. Still good, still good. They're hitting me. It's still good. They're hitting me still. Actually, what was that? Iframes, or was he just missing me? Look at that again. Was he just missing me, or was that iframes? But either way, what you can see is that while I'm casting it, I've got a bit of armor. While I'm in it, I have armor. They were attacking me. I was taking damage, but I was still doing it. That actually might be really good. All right, this one deserved a nerf rather than a buff. This is Swarm of Flies, one of the best incantations in the game pre this patch, and now it's still good. It's just, it doesn't build up bleed quite nearly as quickly, but I mean, as you can see, he stands in it for a moment, he gets bled. The pressure you can put on someone in PvP by just sending that at them and then running at them and attacking at the same time is incredible, even if it wasn't doing that much, but it's still good. Here's an exciting one though. These specific incantations are, I don't know, that they're really cool, but they just haven't been that effective in any of the content really. You can make them work, but I want them to be strong because they're super cool. I'm talking about the dragon incantations, the dragon faction, not the dragon transformations, but the dragon cult. They use the Gravelstone seal, just to be really clear. We have Lansseax's Glaive, we have Fortisax's Lightning Spear, and we have the Frozen Lightning Spear. These have all seen some improvements. The Glaive here now costs less FP as well as stamina to use, which is apparently none now. Its cast speed is also faster, which is really important because it came out way too slow. Your recovery time is better because you come out of it quicker, and also it has that all-important new effect: withstand enemy attacks during it. This is what I want to see for the actual dragon transformations. Why do they not have this? Lansseax, on the other hand, the lightning spear here, this one, the double stamp AoEs, this is really cool. That's cheaper on the FP and stamina. Obviously, it's cast faster, and you've got faster recovery time as well. And again, you are able to withstand enemy attacks. The frozen lightning spear. This is incredible. I love this ability. I think it's one of the better incantations. Just for its potential to see this buffed is wonderful. It has decreased stamina cost, increased cast speed, and also the recovery time is better, as once again. And finally, it has that withstand ability. This is BS. Where am I withstand on the other incants? All the same though, I'm really happy to see it on these. So let's give it a go. So will I be interrupted? Looks like it. Interesting. Let's try again. Oh, there you go. The big boy hit me and I didn't get interrupted. I suppose it was the hammer, and I am very low poised for this testing, just wearing my usual set. And the lightning spear. Okay, so a couple hits, you will be knocked out of it. You are not immune, but you can take a hit or two and still get it off. Interesting. The cast speed alone, I think, makes them much more viable. The other buffs and benefits, that's really nice. And then the withstand on certain attacks, yeah, those are good. Let's now mention Elden Stars, which is a weird one. This is a really cool and pretty spell, or incantation rather, but it just wasn't that useful. In PvP, it takes so long to go off, you easily be interrupted, the benefit wasn't worth it. PvE, again, it takes so long to go off, it's very pretty, didn't feel like it was doing enough. This is interesting now. So what they've done is they've got a faster cast animation, and then you recover from it quicker too, so you get out of it. That makes it much more likely to actually get the cast off. I would say definitely in PvP invasions. Yeah, in PvE, I can make space and stand here and cast here like so. The damage really comes from the actual final blast, as you saw there. I don't know, cast speed, definitely good. Recovery time, definitely good. It's hard to say. I mean, I really like it. I feel as though I want to like it, and I want to say it's good. I want to say it's a good incantation, but I'm not sure about this one. Let me know what you guys think. Finally, a brief word on Madness, which has seen an overall nerf, although there has been some interesting changes to certain things like Ashes of War and obviously incantations. So the length of the stun that you cause in someone by doing Madness, the build up where the bar goes to 100 and stuns them, that has been reduced now, so they won't be stunned as long. That's fair because in PvP, you could literally break this with certain scaling, infinitely stunning enemies. It was unfair and not right, and I'm glad that's been addressed. But with that, certain incantations like in Unendurable Frenzy here, well, they were a bit random in how the targeting worked. So they've actually addressed that in a certain way. They've given it faster cast speed, so it comes out quicker, and it's also less random in where it goes, so we can target enemies a bit better with it. It's going to hit the enemy you're aiming for, and it's also going to, against what I just said, build madness up on them faster. The Inescapable Frenzy, the grab, that also has a slightly faster cast speed, so maybe you'll land that grab, we'll see. But Howl of Shabriri, this has less madness build up on enemies, and it also has faster cast speed, so it does come out quicker, and also you can recover from it quicker, so we can get out of it with a roll. So you're not stuck in it as long. But I suppose they thought the AoE build-up of that madness was a bit much, maybe in PvP. I'm not sure about that one. With other incantations for madness like Flame of Frenzy or Frenzy Burst, they've just straight up decreased the madness build-up with those incantations, and that's it. So it's interesting to see their specific adjustments with these other ones. Time will tell if Madness is still viable or good. It was certainly brokenly strong with the last patch. In this patch though, we'll have to see. When we're actually looking at the notes, I just want to mention that while I am looking at quite a few of these specific incantations, right, and talking about what they can do, I want to acknowledge that so many incantations have seen exactly one change. It's this: increase the cast speed and decrease the recovery time. So many incantations have this. So it'll be interesting to continue to experiment and learn more about what has changed and what's super relevant now. So yeah, while I'm looking at specific incantations, just acknowledge that so many, are coming out quicker and getting you stuck in them less time. But there you have it, my quick look and talk about various certain incantations from the patch that have been changed. While I did do an overview of the many, yeah, you can recover quicker and cast a bit quicker ones, I wanted to look at the ones that really did need a buff or a nerf, the ones that have been changed in a most noticeable way, and what my thoughts on each were. So I hope this was useful or helpful. I do recommend you check the full patch notes though to see everything in specific detail. But for now, my name has been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you very much for watching, we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.